Hey guys, today we're going to be assembling our Whiskey 46 DIY kit. This is one of our staple watches. It's made from reclaimed whiskey barrels. We're making this video so you can build your watch along with us. So take your time while executing these steps and let's jump right into it. Alright, so the first thing you're going to do is remove the lid, put it to the side. Introducing our DIY kit by Original Grain. As you open the lid, you'll see that we have our instructions here that you can scan. What you see here is all the watch components, which we'll get to. Underneath here, you'll see all the tools that you're going to need to assemble the watch. The watch stand for when you remove the links, which you'll need the link removal tool and the hammer. You also have the spring bar removal tool, your screwdriver, your finger cots, and your monocle. So we'll use all these tools as we go, but for now we can kind of put them to the side. The first thing that we're going to do is assemble the case. To assemble the case, we start with your dial. You also need the 46mm case that includes the bezel. On here you have a little bit of plastic that can get removed later. We need our movement holder. This is a plastic movement holder here. Underneath your case back here on the left is actually a battery. So pull out that battery. So this is what you're going to need to assemble the case. So we'll start here. We're going to grab our first tool. This is your duster, just to make sure nothing's been kind of accumulated while it's been in shipping. You just want to dust things as you go. Kind of a fielder's choice on when and where and what to dust. Obviously your dial and your case, you just don't want debris stuck in there. So we're just going to spend some time kind of polishing that off at first. So remove the top. We have our dial. Your hands are already assembled, as you can see. These are all, for some reason, they're all pointed at the 12. You might get yours and they're at the 10 and 2, but right now they're all centered at the 12 o'clock. So as you pull this out, this is actually the most important step that you don't want to kind of get too aggressive with. You really don't want to push down on these hands. If those get kind of bent, as you can imagine, they're going to swivel and they're going to be bent and maybe cause like a little bit of drag on the dial. So just be really careful with this dial and how you kind of remove it. You kind of dump it out. It's not super fragile, but you just want to be careful with those hands. So you have your dial, you want to give it a few blows here. Just make sure it's kind of, if you see any smudges, you can also bring in this rag and kind of spot heal it. But again, don't drag the rag across the dial because these are applied indices and it can get damaged. So just if you need to spot heal something, feel free to wipe out the inside of your case. That's not a problem. I would recommend kind of wiping it out, just any debris following the kind of dust. So just kind of first steps, kind of get you started and off to the right direction. So now we can assemble the case. The first step that you're going to do is actually flip everything kind of over. So flip the case over. As we go, we're going to want to remember where this is, and this is where you push the stem into. So your watch crown and stem, I've left it in here for now, but you're just going to want to keep track of where this is at because you know, as you put in the dial, you're going to want to make sure that this is kind of in reference to the 3 o'clock. So it's upside down now. All right, now that we have everything kind of flipped over, we're ready to assemble the case. So the first thing you're going to want to do is actually insert the battery into the movement. And one thing to note is on one side of the battery, you'll see a small inscription. On the other side, it's actually kind of plain. So the inscription faces outward. So and then you pull up your movement and you see a little hole that's actually, you can tell it's dedicated to this small battery. So you insert the battery, just kind of place it in there. It's gonna seed correctly. So just kind of fumble with it a bit and just try not to put your fingers on the dial because underneath here is those hands still. So just kind of grasp the dial and then just push in the movement and it will seed right in. That's what this movement holder is actually for. It's to hold the battery down. So as you flip it over, you kind of see the outline of the movement. There's a few things to take note of. One is this tab. So this tab needs to be closest to the battery because that's what holds it down. So you can tell that it needs to be flipped this way. So that's what's gonna hold the battery down. The other thing to take note of is this kind of slot insert here. That is where your stem is gonna push into. So that needs to be facing towards the 3 o'clock. So as you kind of roll it over, you can see here's the 3 o'clock, and you can see actually just with the battery being kind of held in, you're already starting to see the second hand move. So that's why you just got to be careful what's underneath. So flipping it back over here, flipping it back, kind of making a reference point for where the 3 o'clock is. 3 o'clock's over here. So we're going to inset this. And kind of, you don't have to be forceful. It all seeds together. It's all designed for itself. So just it kind of pushes into itself. So there it is, pushed in. And then you take the case. You see where the insert for the crown is on the 3 o'clock. You find where that's going to align, and you're actually able to just drop everything into the back side of your case. Okay, so we're pretty well seated. Just kind of give it a little push down on both sides. You're going to want to make sure everything's super even. You know, you don't want the dial kind of at an angle. Everything needs to fit pretty flush here in the back. As you can see, the tab is pushing somewhat firmly down on the battery, so that's in place. You have your slot for your stem movement insert. As you push it over, you can start to see that everything's kind of aligned. 12, 3, 6, 9, everything looks pretty well aligned. If it's not, you're just gonna have to pull it out and reinsert. Again, we're not in a rush, so if you need to pull everything out, just go ahead and remove it and then reinsert. So everything appears to be aligned and well. So the next thing you're gonna do is grab your stem. So this is your crown here and your stem. So your crown and stem, kind of all one piece. So this is what you're gonna insert into the movement here. So make a kind of set it in there, and then from the back side, you can see it insert in. There's a small hole that inserts right into the movement. So just slowly kind of push it in there. Make sure that it's straight, it's not at an angle so that it's gonna get bent. Again, these are fairly fragile. Kind of insert, and then as you feel it kind of click in, you'll feel it go click, click, and then it's in. So at this point, your watch is running, and if you pull it out one click, it's gonna stop. So let me give it one little pull. So your watch has stopped. Then you can reset the time as well. So if you want to set it, go backwards. So we'll go to 10:10. Boom, 10:10. If you want, you can start the watch. So your watch is now started and running. You want to flip everything back over. The next step that you're going to want to get into is applying your case back. So this is your original grain case back. Has the branding. Here it has some plastic just to make sure that it's not scraped. I just keep it on for now because we're gonna end up putting in the screws here in the holes here. They've kind of been pre-drilled. On the case, you see that there's 4 holes as well. So those should all align. Here we go. And you're gonna put the case back on the watch. So you're gonna get into what's in these little baggies. So you're gonna have 3 little baggies for different components. Here's where case back screws that's marked. We'll have those here. You also have spring bar tools and link pins, but we'll leave those in for now. So case back screws, these are really small. As you can see, we've thrown in a few extra, but these are really, really small. So you're just gonna wanna keep a good track of these. Trust me, I've lost a few in my day. So they're here right on the mat. Just wanna identify that you're only gonna need 4. And so get everything realigned. This thing's probably moved around on you a bit. So you can either use your fingers, there's tweezers in there if you'd like. I like to honestly just use my fingers to kind of get everything set. So this will be a little process here. Pull out your tool, this is your screwdriver. You're gonna wanna make sure that no water or moisture can get in here. This is what seals your movement. So to over tighten them, not an issue. You know, they'll tell you when it's nice and snug, and then just give it that extra half turn. So as you do that on all four corners, you know, nice and snug. I got everything. Yeah, it'll tell you when it's tight. Okay, now that our case is assembled and working, case back is on, we're gonna assemble the band to the case. We have extra links for those that have bigger wrists, so these can be added. We'll put those to the side. If you need to add them, we'll do it at the end. And we'll take a look and stage our band. So the side that has the clasp, so the clasp actually goes to the bottom half of your watch. So you can stage this at the 6 o'clock. If you flip this over, you see these two little slots. And so these little slots actually connect to the bottom of your case via a spring bar. But we'll get into that in a second. So locate those go closest to the watch. And it's the same thing for the top half of your band. So your top half of your band, you pull them up, you can see the slots. So these slots, again, go to the case, go closest to the case. And then we need to locate our spring bar. So this is our buckle spring bar, put that to the side, that's for the clasp. And then we have our case back screw, don't need that. We need our spring bar. So we have our spring bar and our buckle spring bar. We're gonna start with the spring bar. So we should have one extra in here. We're gonna need two for assembly. So with this, you can use some of your tools. I like to use the spring bar tool. You know, these are kind of jagged edges, so just be careful not to try to scratch your watch, depending on which side you use. Just kind of take a note. Some people just use their fingers and thumbs. So flipping this back over, flipping this over, locate kind of the slot, grab your spring bar. The reason it's called a spring bar is because these actually push in on each side when pressure is applied, and you're going to use that feature so that it slides into these grooves. There's a little dot, little kind of cutout on the inside. So the ends of your spring bar are going to push into there and then expand so that it's tight. So again, finding the 6 o'clock, here we are, finding the little groove, the side with the groove, you can slide this half in. So we're in. Then you kind of push it down here and get it aligned. So I try to favor one side to start. So you're gonna favor one side as you insert it, and then the other side is gonna be on the top half. So you kind of find that hole, and you'll feel it kind of seed in there. So as it's seeding in there, you're applying a little bit of pressure, not too much, but you're applying a little bit of pressure, and you grab your tool and you use that spring bar feature to push everything down. So as it collapses, you're able to move closer and closer to that hole. So pushing it down. And then you kind of feel it get joined in there at the two kind of dots that are on the inside of your watch. So at this point, you should be able to turn it kind of in and out, and the watch should move on a swivel, and your spring bar is activated and working. So this isn't popping out. So that's good. You've inserted it correctly. On the bottom half, you're gonna do the same technique. You're gonna grab your next spring bar. Pull out a spring bar, put this to the side. Flip them over, always good. Always good to flip it over as well. Push this thing in. So again, favor one side, favoring one side, kind of find the dot, the thing that has been kind of pushed in. And then from there, same technique, applying a little bit of pressure. Once you get it kind of set in that groove, grab your tool, a little bit of pressure, push it down. And these will jump out on you if you lose them, lose kind of control of them. They may spring out and they can be hard to find. So if it's not aligning well, you just kind of got to move it around, find a point of entry, and then yeah, there you go. So both sides should be fairly well swiveled and working. So now your band is connected. So the next thing that you're gonna wanna do is connect your clasp to the other side of your band. So you do this by undoing the clasp. This is just plastic, you can leave it on or you can pull it off. I'm just gonna pull mine off so you can see the finish there. So you're gonna pull it off, and inside here you're gonna see kind of two grooves on the inside. So these are what you call micro adjustments. I always go for the outer edge because it's a little easier, and then you can set your watch like on your wrist and see where it fits. If you're kind of in between size, you can always move it so that's your kind of micro adjustment. Once you get your band in there, once you get your band kind of set on that first link with the spring bar, you can move it a little further in if you'd like. But I go for that, I target kind of that first groove just for simplicity. So you're gonna grab your buckle spring bar, pull one of those out. Buckle spring bar. So very similar technique as the spring bar for your case. Is you're gonna slide it in through the groove here in the back. So slide it through the groove, boom. Again, has that spring feature. Favor one side. So I'm gonna favor this top side, kind of get it in the groove. You'll feel it kind of click in. And then you can kind of just apply a little thumb pressure. And maybe you can set it down and just kind of apply a little pressure and push it in to where that it's inside the clasp, and then you'll feel that spring bar kind of set inside those grooves. So at that point, again, this side is also now on a swivel, and your clasp is now attached.